26th meeting of the Costa Mesa Sanitary District Board of Directors to order. If you'd all rise and join me in saluting our flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Vice President Ferryman.
Please bow your head and join me in prayer. God, give us the guidance and the strength to make good decisions for the district. In your name, amen.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Director Arthur Perry.
Here.
Assistant Secretary Robert Uten.
Here.
Secretary Arlene Schaefer. Here. Vice President James Ferryman.
Present.
And President Michael Schaefer.
Here. Okay, it takes us to C words are getting to me tonight. Ceremonial matters and presentations, and we actually have a proclamation this evening. So that if I could have Mr. Davis come forward, that's you. We have a proclamation to present to Davis Farr LLP for being recognized as one of the top.
You want me to read it?
With that.
Get a hold of yourself.
Glasses?
To recognize one of the 50 most community-minded major corporations in the United States. And there's a bunch of whereases and wherefores, but more than anything, we're awfully proud of you guys. We're very grateful that you handle our affairs. So, Mark, this is presented to you and your organization, and with all of our heartfelt congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much.
Would you like to address anybody?
What can I say?
Yeah. Thank you, guys. I was not expecting anything like this. The firm, we do give a lot back to the community. We're very fortunate to be able to operate in business in Orange County. And the firm, from top all the way down, is very civic-minded. We do a lot of little programs at the office. It's kind of nice to be recognized by some of the big-name companies like Disney and these other companies out there. You got this tiny little CPA firm in Irvine. But the people do a lot of things. We offer a lot of education to nonprofit organizations in accounting matters, and we usually bring in a nonprofit organization once a month to talk about their mission to us, and then all the employees try to get involved in with that organization going forward. So thank you very much.
Congratulations, Mark. Thank you. Okay. Public comments? Any late communications, Scott?
No, President.
Okay. Public comments? Not seeing anybody in the public. I guess we'll move past that to the consent calendar. Any items for discussion on the consent calendar?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion by Director Perry and a second by Secretary Schaefer. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimous. Scott, we'll go right down to your reports.
Thank you, Mr. President. So item number one is receive and file the fiscal year 2015-20
Plan quarterly update for the first quarter. Happy to answer any questions, and I will address one issue that Assistant Secretary Uten brought to my attention, or asked a question, and he had noted that a lot of the
complete items, he said, were not shown in the red color, and the red color means it's delayed because green is complete. So those, that's what
I apologize for the incorrect color. Green is, well,
green's complete, red means delayed.
the whole thing is green.
No, it's not. We got a lot of pages.
Well, congratulations.
Do you know the old saying about
The which?
chill wait even though you're late? You know.
So you got that cardinal is canceled?
What?
The cardinal color is canceled?
the purple. It's like a
that's
purple
purple.
color. Yeah.
Okay.
The only one we had was the pump stations on there, right? Any other questions for Scott on that item? Okay, it's a receive and file, so we'll do that. Item 2.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this is to consider approving a commercial driver's license pay. A few months ago, we did an employee satisfaction survey or an engagement. We reached out to our employees and had discussions with them on how they feel everything's going in the district. And one of the suggestions that the wastewater staff recommended was look at implementing a special pay for them to have a Class B driver's license. They require a Class B driver's license because they drive the heavy-duty trucks. And in order to obtain and maintain Class B driver's license, there are a lot higher standards than a typical C license like you and I have. So I thought it was a good idea. But first, we wanted to research who else is doing that. And you see in the staff report, there are other organizations. The one I was really more concerned about was Irvine Ranch Water District. I wanted to stay competitive with them because we did lose one employee to that organization. And so that's why I thought it was good to have this incentive pay to attract employees and keep employees and encourage them to maintain their Class B license.
Any idea why Santa Margarita pays so much for theirs? Do they have bigger equipment or anything that you know of?
It could be a union negotiations. Maybe it was negotiated through the when their MOU was up for renewal. The $15 I think was for a Class A, and we don't need Class A. Though we do have one employee is going to apply for Class A, but it's not required. It's just something he wants to do. That's, as you see, the pay of $260 annually is the same if you have a Class B or Class A.
In terms of them having and maintaining that Class B and actually their driver's licenses, how often do we look at their motor vehicle records?
They're pulled quarterly. We get reports from DMV on their conditions of their driver's license, so we'll know if they have any points on their driver's license. I think it only needs to be 1 or 2 points, and then it's suspended. So we are notified by the DMV when they have points on their driver's license.
Does SDRMA provide any feedback or provide you with any of that?
No. I don't recall.
How often do you have to reapply for the license? Because you have to go in for another physical, and how often do you know? Is that every 5 years or so?
I don't know off the top of my head. I do not know.
Is it every 3 years?
I think it's every.
It could be.
I'll stand
yeah.
corrected.
I don't know.
You may. Isn't it Class B every 3 years that they have to submit? I know my father-in-law had to do it with the Edison company, and he got some incentive pay or bonus, whatever you want to call it. So, and for some reason, 3 years stuck in my mind. But
And City of Costa Mesa pays $700 annually.
Yes. Yes.
We're proposing
260,
260.
which is a little bit more than Irvine Ranch Water District. So Irvine is about 200. That's the age I want to stay competitive with.
And do we just have 2 that have Class Bs?
No, I think you see on the staff report, we have 5 right now, and they have 6th person, our newest employee, like I said, he's going for his Class A. So we'll have 6 out of the 7 wastewater employees that will have either a Class B or Class A license.
is there any reason you're going to pay period instead of just giving them a one-time pay? Does it make any difference?
I'll turn that over to Wendy. That was.
We discussed it as like maybe at the end of the year when they've maintained it for a whole year. It's a little more of a payroll, work to do that than if someone left prematurely, then we would have to do it. This way it goes into its PERSable benefits, so it's just being PERSed along with the rest of theirs. And
Okay.
it's easier for us to catch it if something's missing on the payroll than when it suddenly gets added.
Good answer.
We did. It did seem like it would be a fun thing to hand out, though. Like once a check once a year.
Yeah.
Like here, little Christmas money or something. But
Can I ask, how much does the license cost the employee?
Well, we pay the light. Well, no.
the physicals. Yeah. I think it's the same as a regular license, $34.
Yeah, I think
There's might be some cost for training because they have to be trained behind the wheel. So, and we paid for that too. We take the employee with one of our heavy duty trucks to the fairgrounds so they could practice.
CHP do that test?
No. Oh, do they do that test?
No,
I think there's a company that does it.
CHP does.
Well, no, not the training itself. The CP doesn't do the training. There's companies that does the training, but as far as the testing goes, I don't know the.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think maybe embedded in this cost, the other costs quoted by the other agencies or cities might be some things that we've left out, like the cost of the license. If it's $34, that seems substantial, and maybe we ought to include that in what we pay them, reimburse them, because we require that they have the license in order to drive the heavy equipment.
Right, and again, I think that the $260 we're offering, I think if you look at the other agencies, it's competitive, right? There's some San Capistrano is only $100, and Newport Beach there's $220, $160. There's some that are lower and there's some that are higher. So I think in the middle, I think it's a good range.
You could just find out for curiosity's sake if, like a normal, since these men are rather young, would normally have their licenses for, 10 years before they have to renew. We can find out if they're required to just resubmit their paperwork, or if they're required to.
It's not an annual license fee.
No, it's like every 5 years, I think.
Okay. That mellows it out.
But I suspect that if they've had no accidents, that they are only required to resubmit their paperwork. That there's no additional new license like the first time.
Yeah, if they get a speeding violation, that's like a point on their license, and I say that's significant, and they don't want they try their best to avoid any points because of their higher standards.
Well, it's 1 point, then it compounds. The second one is 3 points, or say it compounds itself. It's kind of complicated. Art, go ahead.
And Scott, how does the DMV know that they work for us?
We give them that information.
I mean, do they when they get the license, they tell? Doesn't those licenses they transfer to different organizations?
Yeah, we give DMV the information of who we have on file that have a current Class B license, so they have that information from us.
Good.
I move approval.
Second.
A motion to approve the $260 per year incentive. Any other discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimous. Thank you. Chamber of Commerce, item 3.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this is an application, a contribution applications from the Costa Mesa Chamber of Commerce seeking monetary contributions for the city's public safety recognition celebration event. Attached to the staff report is the application. As you know, when you're considering approving contribution applications, you have to take into two considerations. One, how is that contribution establishes the purpose of CMS's trying to serve as a contributor to events like this public safety event, and secondly, how does it advance our purpose? And as you can see in the application, I think the purpose is very weak. They're saying that the purpose is that it is demonstrates CMS's loyalty to the city of Costa Mesa and the city heroes, which, it's great to recognize public safety personnel, but to demonstrate loyalty does not establish our purpose or describe how to advance our purpose. So you got to take that into consideration. I did put some alternative actions. If you don't believe that the application meets those two criteria, you can. I think in the past we have donated non-monetary contributions like reusable grocery bags. We've done that before, or you can request the Chamber of Commerce to resubmit a new application. The event's not until January, so they can submit one next month with an appropriate description of how $1,000 will advance your purpose. Those are some options you have, or you could just, if you want to, you can just approve it, and it's up to you. But that's all I have to have for you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Did you take into consideration about the SHARPS program that we do at the fire department?
No, because that's the SHARPS program is for the residents. The reusable bags are for the public safety employees. SHARPS is not. It's for the residents, not for the employees. You see, so I don't know how that would benefit the employees of Costa Mesa. So no, I haven't considered the SHARPS program.
Are you sure of the date? I mean, what?
I don't know the date. I think what Chamber said was in January. I don't have the exact date. I was here in January 2018.
Because I know we were at the breakfast and Tom Johnson, they had passed out some literature, I have it in my car, where they're having a fundraiser for this group, the card game, it's a card game. And I thought, that when I was reading this, I thought it was that event. So is this a different event than the card game they're having? It's
Is that
in
the card? I think
November.
that's the raise funds for this event.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do this at the fairgrounds, so they,
It's more for public services, like the fire
It's not for the
and
public.
they recognize the police and fire.
So that's the one in January?
yeah, I understand the concept of recognizing, and I want to do that too, but I agree that they're not really giving us, like at the school, when we donate to the schools, they put up the banners that say Costa Mesa Recycling or whatever program. If they could come back with another application giving us something that they're, just having recyclable cans there doesn't really meet it. If they could come back with a revised application saying in our pamphlet we're going to promote your large item pickup or your sharps or whatever.
At least recognizes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they will recognize you in various means. I've gone to these before.
Sure.
Have we participated in this event before, financially?
Maybe we could do
Not
it.
financially. Like I said, last year we donated materials, but we
Yeah,
never.
we did.
Yeah.
We had a big bag
Right.
full of whatever giveaways we have.
Yes.
I would rather go that way.
So
We've donated, we've participated individually before.
I'd like to see us do both. Put it back on them, write a letter and say, the board is wondering what we would be doing as far as contributing to you, as far as what we would get in twofold
Is that a-
back.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, kind of sloppy.
I'll second it.
So that to go back to them and ask them to revise it.
Yeah.
Do we need a motion to do that, Alan?
That'd be great. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion at this point to put it on hold and ask them to redefine it and bring it back to us.
We could say in the past, we've always contributed to you as far as giveaway things
Sure.
for you. But at the same time, we'd be glad to recognize you if you could tell us what we would be receiving.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimous to go back and have them redefine it. Great, thank you. Budget review, item 4.
Thank you, Mr. President. Caitlin Tran will be giving this report.
Caitlin.
Mr. President and directors, in front of you is the first quarter budget review for fiscal years 2017-18. We're on schedule for the first 3 months. Staff anticipates to be within budget. 17.2% of the solid waste budget has been expended. The district is fully staffed, therefore staff projects the personnel budgets to be on target in both funds by June 30th, 2018. The organics disposal account has a budget of $715,000. The organics tonnage has increased since last year. Staff anticipates this account to be fully expended or possibly be over budget after the bilingual organics recycling outreach program. During the first quarter, staff is working on the video promoting CMSD, the employee handbook legal review. The IT consultant is working on updating the district computer hardware and software. Also, one of the HVAC units is scheduled to be replaced. On the wastewater budget fund, 43% of the budget has been expended. The wastewater maintenance and operations has a budget of $2,056,750. $25,000 was transferred from contingency to capital outlay to purchase emergency radios for the district yard. Wastewater capital outlay is projected to be fully expended by June 30th, 2018. On August 24, 2017, the Board of Directors appropriated $1,695,000 to purchase the property at 2252 Fairview Road next to the district yard. And the capital improvement projects carryovers will be requested in the next report. There are not many activities on to report on in this quarter.
It's receive and file.
Second. Oh, it's not.
Any questions for the accounting staff? Looks like we're on track. Let's just simply receive and file.
Yes.
Thank you for your presentation, Caitlin. Very good.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's move then to item 5.
Wendy's is yours, or is it Caitlin? Okay, Wendy Davis will be giving this report.
Can't get all the glory. Before you is the report. I talk louder than you do. Is the report of carryover appropriations and encumbrances. Once a year after the close of the fiscal year, we bring forward expenditures that were encumbered at June 30th for goods and services received but not paid for because we didn't receive the product at June 30th. So we're requesting that the board carry over the POs and encumbrances from June 30th into the new year. We're also requesting that appropriations for budgeted items that were not completed as of June 30th be carried forward into the new year. Such items are normally capital outlay, capital improvement projects, some professional services are typical items of what would be carried forward into the new year. So before you, we're requesting that the board approve the carryover and reappropriation of encumbrances into the new year.
Both of those need to be separate motions on each one, I
Yes,
believe.
please.
On the first one, I just had a question on that. I'm sorry. The asterisk note about the art wraps. Did we budgeted for that originally in sewer maintenance? Is that what that's saying?
Yes, normally anything to do with the pump stations or their equipment, it's really an operational thing, but
Okay.
it's in his account, and the money was actually appropriated from his account originally, so we're just asking for it to be carried forward.
But to be carried over and moved to a different category. Okay. Questions?
On the, let's see. Oh, the present force main is 1.4 million, and the president's pump station has a budget of 1 million. I don't know which this carryover is. Well, it says it's the pump station, but.
Right, the president's pump station was anticipated originally, I believe, to be $2 million. It was $1 million and $1 million.
Okay.
So then we transferred some out to another project, which off the top of my head I can't tell you.
Yeah.
But the force main itself was budgeted separately as I think $1 million. I don't have it right in front of me, but.
Well, you might look at the project pump station is now $1 million, and you've got a carryover of 1.4. So those projects.
They're separate, and if the money's not fully expended, like I understand that the contractor came in with a really good price, that will have excess funds, and they'll either be requested to go back, or we'll come back to the board to reappropriate them towards another project.
I'll explain it in a little more detail at CIP.
Okay.
Very good.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so we need 2 motions, one for item A and one for item B.
Move for item A.
Second.
A motion and a second. Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Item B.
Move it.
Second.
Motion and a second. Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion also carries unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, item 6, Citizens Advisory Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. So on September 12th of this year, the board considered establishing a Citizens Advisory Committee that will give citizens an opportunity to get involved in their community while at the same time assist the board on decision-making issues. On that meeting on September 12th, the board directed staff to research the City of Costa Mesa's policies and procedures for appointing committee members and then report back with findings. So we did that, and what we found is we got a copy of the city's commission/committee board member handbook that provided general information and guidance to new commissioners, committees, and board members. And we thought this was a good tool to draft a similar handbook, which we did. We drafted what's called now the CMSD Citizens Advisory Committee Handbook. And so using that handbook, we made several changes to the proposed committee since your September 12th meeting, and those are outlined in your staff report. There were 7 significant changes. One of them was the term of appointment for each committee member is 2 staggered years. Another one is the members' terms will begin on April 1st, which coincides with the City of Costa Mesa's terms beginning. A recruitment schedule is established. The appointed committee members must live within CMSD service area. Appointments will be announced publicly at a regular board of directors meeting, and each board member will have an opportunity to recommend at least one applicant for appointment. The president shall designate one member of the board to serve 1 year as a non-voting liaison to the committee, and the committee will determine how many days they need to meet within a 12-month calendar, and they will decide on a time of meetings begin. So those were the changes we made. We also put in there administrative policy number 60. And so if you adopt that administrative policy in the handbook, then we will we can begin recruiting at the beginning of the year. I do want to mention that District Council has reviewed the handbook, and I've incorporated his changes. So if you adopt the handbook tonight, it's good to go. So
I have a question. Down here in number 5, where you said at least one applicant we can nominate one. Then does the board vote on the applicant? I mean, on that person?
Yeah. Yes.
Does it have to be 3 to 2 to get?
Yes. Correct.
Okay. So if someone doesn't like the applicant, they can vote no.
Correct.
Okay. Is this what the city does also?
Yes. Exactly.
Arlene and then Jim.
Okay. When we had our open house,
yes.
Did you pass out something, or I remember something coming up? If you are interested in this, let us know. Was there anything that we got out of it? Do we get anything?
Yes, staff's telling me we did, yes.
Some people?
Circulated a sign-up sheet with the email address list for interest, and
Do you remember?
we did receive
How many? Just a few, just a couple?
Just a few.
Okay.
So they're seeking more information, so once this is approved, then we can disseminate that to them.
Jim, you had a question? No. Oh, you did. I'm sorry. I'm not sure I either read over it or missed it, but the recruiting process is going to be through social media, through the newspaper, whatever channels we can use.
Yes.
Okay. Other questions?
What is the total number of members that we're going to have? Does it state there?
I believe it was 11. We're trying to get 11 as a goal.
Initially, we'll start with whatever we get.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
What is the time frame of starting this?
April 1st.
April 1st?
That's when we start, but we can notify people.
Well, we'll be notifying way before then. So that's yes.
That's when it would start.
So hopefully we can bring the applicants to the board in your March meeting, so you make your appointments, or maybe February, and then we can kick off on April. Yeah, in April.
I didn't download the handbook, that we're going to pass out. But once we get this approved, can you get us a copy of that?
Sure.
That was too many pages, but.
Scott, is this one committee or 2 committees?
One committee.
One committee. And then, did we discuss is there going to be a board member present?
Yes. So that was something that was changed since we met in September 12th. The board will appoint one board member to serve 1 year on that committee, so that way every year a new board member can serve on that committee.
I think that's beneficial. I know having done that from the council standpoint, it really does help to have a person there who can at least take the questions down to be answered. So.
Then do we have, what staff is going to be involved with that?
It really, most likely probably myself and Nolani probably help me with posting the agendas, but depending on the items on the agenda, it could be Nabila, it could be Steve, it could be Gina, it could be Wendy. It depends, or not Wendy because
Probably not
she won't
Wendy.
be here. But could be Kaylin, yeah, could be Kaylin. But yeah, it just depends on the subject.
Okay.
Now, wouldn't we have to do minutes too?
Yes, because it is. This would be.
Official meeting.
Yeah, this would be an official. It'll be posted like required by the Brown Act. So it just be like an official meeting.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes.
So do we need to make a motion right now?
Yes, please. Please.
I'll move that we go forward with this program.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other questions or discussion? All right, I'll call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries 5-0. Good program. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right. Item number 7.
Thank you, Mr. President. So back on September 17th, 2015, the board approved an agreement with Davis Farr to provide treasurer's services and other public financing services. In the spring of this year, in April of this year, Davis Farr submitted a proposed rate increase, and we did put that in the budget and is adopted in the budget. Originally, I said, no, we don't have to make it do an amendment to the original agreement, but now that more I thought about it, yes, we should do an amendment. So this is really a formality. Like I said, it's already been approved in the budget. So I just need the board's approval to direct staff to draft an amendment with the proposed rate increase.
Move for approval.
Well, the proclamation wasn't enough. Can't we just use that?
I'll make the motion to approve it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. So it's formal and official. Thank you. Thanks for your diligence on that.
Was that one of the whereases on the?
I think it was. I didn't read the whole thing, but I'm sure it was. Okay. Rob, engineer's report, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President and board members. I will address Director Uden's comment regarding the funding for President Pump Station Force Main. Project 317 is the President Force Main. Project 318 is the President Pump Station. As Wendy said earlier, was funded in two halves, $1 million each. The Force Main was the engineer's estimate for the Force Main was originally $925,000, and that was done as a rehabilitation project. It was put together in 3 different ways: rehabilitation, replacement, open cut, and replacement by boring. And $925,000 was the engineer's estimate for the lining it as a rehabilitation method. Consequently, the budget was about 30% more than that, which was approximately $1.2 million. The 1.464 that's in the budget, that's in the account, I believe was moved in when one of the projects, it had something to do when the Westside Pumping Station abandonment got canceled and money was being moved from one account to another account. But the bottom line is President Uten is correct. There will be some substantial savings because of the lower cost that was the low contractor bid, which was very aggressive and very low. Even with the method that we have, the engineer's estimate was $725,000, so the bid was $50,000 below that. When it's all said and done, there'll probably be approximate savings in the project of about $200,000 to $250,000, and that does not include the excess that's in there due to other reasons. So there'll be a lot of money left over in that project, which is a long way of saying that's pretty good news.
Yeah, very good. Questions for Rob? Anybody?
It sounds like very good engineering.
And by the way, the President Force Main is underway and going well. So the contractor has done all the potholing and excavating the pits for boring and receiving, and that will start in another week. So it's coming along very nicely.
Knock on wood, the weather stays at least dry.
Correct. Thank you.
Did you estimate the number of boreholes? Or
Yes, we designed it to be a boring project, so there are 5 different boring locations.
So there's, and that, so, okay.
I couldn't help it. 2 engineers talking here, and Rob mentioned it being a boring project.
Oh, gee.
You can use that if you'd like.
There you go.
You need a straight man in your act?
Yeah.
Just a second, let me record that.
I have a question. After the State of the District, I had an email from one of the attendees, and he congratulated us on the property acquisition on Fairview and moving the emergency equipment. But he brought up something that only this guy would think of. He said that wouldn't it be beneficial to have some of that emergency equipment here, or I think he said to leave it at your headquarters, because if there was a problem with the bridges that go over to the east side over Newport, over the freeway, we might have trouble getting equipment over to the east side. But the more I thought about it, having it on Fairview makes more sense, because you can go down past, 19th Street and take stuff over if it's needed. And that's kind of what I said to him, is we have we have Bristol Street and we have 19th Street that we can get stuff over to the east side if there's, and the biggest reason I thought about it is our critical pump stations are over there.
That was a good thought by that person. We have taken that into account in our emergency response plans as far as how to bypass a force main, because there are bridges and all. But it is also good to have your emergency equipment a little bit here and a little bit there, and in a good central location.
Yeah. Okay.
But not here, probably.
It didn't make sense to keep it here, to my way of thinking. Where are you going to put it to begin with?
You have to build another enclosure of some sort.
Couldn't we just buy Spectrum, the property?
Well,
sorry, Wendy.
Either that or
Never
just
mind.
either that or just leave a mobile piece here.
I know, but then you can't just leave it out.
That's true.
That's the problem. That's a problem with the copper and stuff.
Yeah, but I think they are left out. Maybe, I don't know.
I'm talking about, it has to be in some type of enclosure.
Jim?
If a catastrophic earthquake or something of that nature hit above the 405 freeway, which is Costa Mesa up there, that's kind of where I live, it might be challenging for us to, I don't know how that would work, getting equipment up there if we needed to, but that's something we may want to take a peek at, because we're vulnerable there.
That's a very good comment.
Yeah, because that's kind of what you think about with South Coast Plaza and all that stuff.
Well, that and, everything over there,
Yeah.
Do we have a working arrangements with Santa Ana? Do we have a working relationship with Santa Ana? If something happens to us and we can't get to our mutual aid?
Those bridges collapse, we have to get over there.
And they have the 405 bridge partially collapsed.
Yeah.
In the
we have a game plan already for that.
Okay. Thank you, Rob. Next item. Mark?
Thank you, Mr. President, board members. This is your quarterly review of the investment report. Total investable cash at September 30th was $14.9 million. This is down as we're going through our dry period right now, our revenue dry period. It's also down due to the acquisition of of the Fairview property. At September 30th, the portfolio was earning 1.373% with a duration of 916 days. That's about 2.5 years. In comparison to LAIF, LAIF was paying 1.111% on a duration of 190 days. Starting to see LAIF creep up, and our margin between what we earn and what LAIF is paying is getting much, much smaller. We did have one security that very timely was called this last month. It was a farm credit that we had purchased 2 years ago it was a 5-year farm credit at 1.875%. They called that back, and it was timely from the standpoint that with the purchase of the building, we were monitoring our cash balance, our available cash balance, just to pay operations. And with this being called, that is going to kind of help get us through till we think when we start getting our annual charges start coming in toward the end of November. With that, there's really not much happening. We're just kind of staying the course while we go through this dry period. With that, I'm available for any questions that you may have.
Do we get money from the county tax rolls before the end of November?
Yeah, the first allocation, I don't know the exact dates, but I know that there is usually a first allocation that happens sometime in November.
Well, November 10th is the delinquent date.
December 10th.
Or thank you, December 10th. But it's November. Is November 1st the?
No. They're usually the taxes due are due. I want to say November 1st, delinquent December 10th, but but the county will allocate funds to all the agencies that are receiving property tax or annual charges as it comes in, and they have a schedule that will take it throughout the year. So there's a little bit, people that pay early, there's a little bit of funds that they've received already for this fiscal year.
Well, and the schedule is actually based on percentages. So it's a secured, unsecured, and supplemental, and they'll say, like, the first secured payment you get is 1%. So everything they collect by the cutoff date, they'll give you 1%. And they'll hold it because what they don't want to do is over-apportion you, So for us, the first major payment we get is, I think, right after Thanksgiving. And it's, I want to say, 10 or 15%. So it's really not major. The first truly big payment we will get will be after the December payment, or the December cutoff, when everyone has made it. And again, they don't give you everything they've collected; they only give you a percentage of it. So it's but we earn interest through them on monies that they're holding on our behalf. But that way, it's kind of nice for us. I mean, and for other cities, because you can kind of generally tell how much revenue you're getting if the percentages stay the same, but people pay. So if your assessments are up, then it's higher because our assessments up. But if the assessments stay the same, you get the same amount of money, 1%, you can kind of gauge how many more people are paying and how much you're going to get later on.
Well, I was interested in this because it'll go down by another $1 million plus by the time we get any more money. And it's less than the Arcadis report projected that was going to be rebated to everybody. So the $650 might be something substantially less. And that would totally wipe out every dollar we have.
I have a question. Do you happen to know how much money is owed to us for people that haven't paid their tax bills?
It's a hard number to pin down. We have this conversation with the auditors because it's called, prior year unsecured, prior year supplemental. And so it's kind of like a building number. So when you get some of the numbers, you don't know who didn't pay. And when they give you that prior year money, they don't tell you which prior year it was. So we have a receivable that goes into our financial statements that's a kind of a best guesstimate. Because someone may have been in foreclosure on a house, the bank finally closed on it, and they only closed on it for the amount of the back taxes, say. So those could be back taxes from, a number of years ago, or a probate sale or something. So you don't actually know what you're getting or when you're getting it. So that's why we always kind of budget our assessments conservatively, we budget the expenditures on the high end and the revenues on the low end, hoping that we won't have anything that's, causing us any problems. But you never know. For a while, there are a lot of foreclosures and, houses that were in having issues and stuff. That would, until they sell or determine that, we won't get our money.
So that's a good question, because, and if you pay your taxes late, the penalty that's assessed, does that all go to the county?
No, we get penalties.
You do.
Our share.
Whatever the percentage our share is.
My question was, how much you think is owed to us? You don't know that, though.
There's no way.
Like I said, the auditors make us go through a calculation of kind of giving a best estimate.
You have a best estimate?
No, Caitlin was learning how to do property taxes this year, and it was kind of a, more of a, like this kind of thing as the approach. I would say, I think it's less than a couple $100,000 total that we're owed for all years.
Okay, that's what I was kind of getting at.
So, we do track what we get in revenue because we're expending all that money. So the unpaid portions are generally very small, but we never know which year we're getting. So
That's interesting. Good.
I don't answer my question.
Good, Jay.
We still collect a portion of the property tax for our budget.
we do get general property taxes. We estimate low on those, again, but it's around 270,000, and that goes into the trash fund.
We talked years past about that reserve amount, and we've used it for rate reductions. Where do we kind of stand on that reserve right now? Do you have any idea?
Off the top of my head, I know we went through it a little bit during the budget process, maybe back in March or so. I wanted to say that we would use up all our reserves for the solid waste fund, and we would be looking at 1920, I think was the year that we would be,
You mean 2020, right? Fiscal year 1920.
Yes, sorry. No, yes.
No, that's not your fault. That's my fault. I'm sorry.
So definitely somewhere in 2019 is what we're looking at, issue. We do know that the trash rate, not the trash rate, but the tonnage rate is increasing. And if we do get more participation in organics, that could drive it faster. So, our best case scenario is in the 2019-20 year. Our worst case scenario is it happens somewhere in the 18-19 year.
Okay.
Wasn't that total like $100,000 that we got like 10 years ago?
That's exactly right.
Yeah. And then now it's 200,000?
Yeah, I think we budgeted 225,000, but it's really kind of comes in around 250 to 270.
I never knew that. We got that amount.
General property taxes.
Yeah, that's what, yeah.
Okay, anything else for Mark? Okay, thank you. Report. Attorney's reports.
Mr. President, that is an action item. We need.
Yes, it was, and I completely blew it off. Let's go back to the treasurer's report. We need a motion to accept the.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. Attorney's reports then?
Mark appreciates that.
I know he does. Do you want me to preface this with the CR? Did Scott mention to you that we may desire or may want to go into closed session on this item?
Yeah, if I could provide a little information on that.
Please. Thank
Thanks. We don't have much of a report. I think you've been given a report on the basic negotiations with CR&R that Scott has been involved in, and maybe some of the rest of the district's been involved in that. I have not specifically been involved in that, but we have been involved in the issue about the organics and whether we're getting the best conversion technology rate and our most favored nations clause, and we've been trying to pin that down. And we have made some progress, but we do not have all of the documents to make a final recommendation to you. I understand the board has thought about maybe doing a closed session tonight. It's not listed on the agenda. we would have to identify the litigation and call out under what provision of the government code we're going into closed session under. But before that, we, of course, need to make the motion that we were addressing a non-agenda item tonight that hadn't been posted. And there'd be the two findings you'd have to make was that the need for immediate action exists, and secondly, that the need to take the action arose after the agenda was prepared. I think the second one's fairly easy, but I don't know if you have the facts that you would want to go into, that there's a need to take immediate action as opposed to possibly hearing this at a special meeting and posting it. But if there's a real need to do it tonight, we just have to articulate what that need is tonight.
I don't know if there's, like you just said, Alan, that we don't have everything that we need to really discuss it. So I don't see an urgent need to go into closed session to do that if we don't have all the ducks lined up.
And you may not have all of the information when you do go into closed session, but if we notice it properly, then you can be in there properly and talking about why we don't have all the information and what that means, and it would be a little cleaner way of doing it.
I appreciate that.
Sure.
Okay. Any questions for Alan at this point on anything?
No, just that we should probably have this on our agenda every month for closed session because we are in negotiations. So that in case we have to, where it's already agendized.
Yeah, we can do that now that we're into active negotiations.
Can you iterate what we've read some things already, but can you kind of tell us what we're missing?
Well, we're basically missing an Exhibit A to a 2012 agreement. That we don't have exactly what we're looking for to exactly, but if we had the Exhibit A to the 2012 agreement, we could see whether their rates decreased, stayed the same, or increased, and that would help us make a judgment about it. But that's the document that does not exist, and apparently it does not exist at the city that we're interested in, and which is kind of amazing because, as Mark might tell us, that I think when they get their audit done, they look to what their contract says they have to pay their contractor, and they verify that the correct rate was paid. And if that document doesn't exist, I'm not sure how they paid them.
So the city in question doesn't have the document.
City in question is advising our general manager that they do not have the document, and he's tried to get it more than one way.
But our hauler has that document?
He's not sharing it. I don't know if he has it or not, but he's not volunteering it neither.
Okay.
Have we asked him for that, though? Have we asked him for that document?
I'm not sure if we have.
We were going to send a letter tomorrow. We'll specifically ask for it.
Yeah, that might be good if we.
That's the best way to handle it.
Scott could send that letter, and then maybe he will produce it. But
okay. So then, really, no need to go to closed session. Everybody agree?
Yeah, I agree.
The only thing that is concerning is when do we get all the information so we could have a closed session?
Well, I think once Scott gets a reply to that letter, we'll be closer to doing whatever we need to do.
Plus, it's not on our agenda tonight.
Right.
I realize that, but it's just the idea time-wise that it's hard to believe that somebody can't find a certain material.
Yeah, really, time is on our side, I think.
Even though I'd like to get the approval of the contract, but still, everything's being done for us already. But I'd like to get the programs that we suggested in the negotiations that we have going as soon as possible, because that's what we told our audience the other night.
Yeah.
They were excited about it. So, okay. All right, then we'll just leave that in the capable hands of our council. And
could we maybe get an idea from the council whether they'd like to see it earlier than the next board meeting, maybe a study session we could have it on?
I wouldn't be opposed to even calling a special meeting. This is critical to our operation, and if we need to have a special meeting to get this resolved, I think that's in order.
I completely go along with that.
All right, anything else? Alan, anything
else? Yes, Mr. President, thank you. I just received yesterday notice that from the Court of Appeals that our brief is due in 40 days, so in 40 days we'll file our opening brief, and then they'll have probably 30 days to respond, and then we have another opportunity to provide a reply to that, and then the court will set it for oral argument, and we'll have hopefully a final decision on our Regional Water Quality
Yeah.
Control Board fine case, so
Okay.
it's finally, the record's finally been prepared by the Court of Appeals and the trial court.
Almost like out of sight, out of mind, almost. Yeah. Anything else, Alan?
No, Mr. President.
Good luck with your travails, and I'm glad you guys are safe, at least from the fires. We're
Thank you.
very, very happy. And our general manager as well, although you had a vacation in Dana Point, so that didn't. Okay. Local meetings. Jim, you want to start?
Yeah, Orange County Sand District is in the process of putting out an RSP on a broker to represent them on that Garden Grove property that they've deemed excess. So that's going to go on the market. Also, Orange County Sand and Orange County Water District both approved a joint agreement for the final expansion of the groundwater replenishment program. So that's underway. We've got everything lined up, and they're going to get, I'm sure they've already begun on the drawings. Also, we've been negotiating all along, as I've told you before, with OCTA, and we really made some big strides. They're going to eliminate that flyover, which really was going to be just a nightmare for the entryway to the Orange County Sand District.
The 405 flyover?
Yeah.
So that's good news for me?
Yes.
Very good, thanks.
So they're gonna-
I'm done.
They're going to move it.
But I mean, there's still some challenges out there, but we're really working close with these guys, and we're bringing in other, some of the members of Orange County Sand District are also on the OCT board, so that's kind of working to our advantage, and we're not above taking advantage of that. Also, just in passing, Bob Gorelli informed me that he's going to be retiring in August, and I don't know if you guys know him, but really a great guy. He's been there 20 years. He's got his doctorate from UCLA, and just good solid guy.
He was a former CEO of LA Regional Board, and I hired him. I helped hire
I
him.
knew that was going to be. I knew that was going to come out.
for it.
I knew you were going to say that.
I was on the panel with him when he was hiring.
And also, we lost a real stalwart in Wayne Sylvester,
Oh, yeah.
who was the general manager when I first got on the board, and that was a long time ago. And he was just a great guy, and Bob could probably tell you a lot more, but he passed away the 16th of October in Florida at his home. And we adjourned the meeting last night in his
How old
honor.
was he? Do you know?
He was in his early 80s. I'm not sure exactly how old, but
Hire him?
No.
He was a nice man, very nice man.
yeah.
Was he married to the district clerk also?
Yes,
Yeah.
he married the district clerk.
Penny or whatever her name was?
No,
Yeah.
no, not Penny. You're thinking of Penny Kyle. It was Rita.
Rita?
Rita. Yeah. So the clerk of the board and married to the general manager.
It was an earlier time.
Okay, that's all I have.
Thanks, Jim.
Well, let me add a little bit. I went to the operations committee meeting. They gave an update on the procurement process, and they gave an update on the strategic plan. And one item on the strategic plan is they won't do one this fall because they don't think they need to. And, there's a lot of miscellaneous stuff purchased, Vector trucks and tow trucks and
With the sanitation district, we had a notification that their state of the district breakfast is coming up. Do we need to reserve for that, or does it just show
No
up?
RSVP is required.
Online, I had to press that I was coming, and they gave me
Oh, that was the Evite?
the e-bike.
Yeah.
So that you just get it on your computer, and you just press it,
It'll give you a
and then
reminder.
they send you the e-bike.
Yeah.
Because you present it as you come in, it's like a ticket to get in. So I think, I was gonna bring that up tonight, but
I'm not sure about the process, but
It's at Mile Square Golf.
the
no,
Mile Square
I-
Golf Course,
yeah.
8 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah,
on November
but it's-
17th, I believe.
it's in November, yeah. I have the date down.
It is the 17th.
It is the
8
17th.
o'clock at Mile Square Golf Course. Too bad it's not Thursday, but, I mean, that's what I did. I punched it and I got online.
That's good, it
They
is.
sent me a ticket.
So you're registered.
I'm registered, so they probably want a head count.
It's probably a raffle ticket.
So it's a suggestion that I don't know if they do need a head count, we need to RSVP for that.
Yeah, I'll work that out for me. But
Hey, Art Sarfa? any
And no
report?
meeting, no meeting is today.
ISDOC, Arlene and I both attended the executive committee meeting, and we continue to muddle through trying to get nonprofit status with our intrepid leader. He spends a lot of time with attorneys trying to figure it out, but he hasn't done anything with it yet. And
Did he bring that up today?
no.
No, not today.
But Bill Nelson had mentioned to him that the council for the Orange County Cemetery District was willing to pro bono do all the filing and do all the work, and it flummoxed our president quite a bit. He didn't know how to respond to that, and someone finally just said, just do it. So Bill Nelson's in the process of getting our nonprofit for ISDOC settled.
That's good.
And then today was the quarterly luncheon with which Arlene and I attended, and it was actually a pretty good program. I mean, Sandra Jacobs, who's the first vice president, is getting some programs that at least appeal to people. And they had the PIO from the John Wayne Airport, Deanne, I don't remember her last name.
Me either.
It's right there.
No, that's the old
Oh,
one.
that's the old, never mind. And she gave a kind of an update on what they're doing at the airport and talked about some new planes that are coming in that are going to be a lot quieter. And we found out today why they don't fly to Hawaii from John Wayne anymore. The runway's too short for planes. She says the planes that go to Hawaii are so full that they can't make that stall technique or whatever it is. So that's why they don't, until they get an airplane that can fill up and make that short runway. It's funny, she made a comment, she says, I really like JetBlue, so I fly out of Long Beach all the time. But she gave a really nice presentation on that small aircraft that crashed in June, over here. And her presentation had to do with EOC stuff and how they were prepared. And they had just, like a couple of months before that, had practiced all of that. So, I don't know if you remember that small aircraft. Both people were in the hospital for a month, the pilot and his wife, but they're completely fine. There were no fatalities. There were no injuries. The freeway was, shut down for a while, but nobody got hurt, which was amazing. And the other thing I learned today that I guess I didn't know is for small craft, for private aircraft, the airport's open 24 hours a day. It's only commercial that goes between 7 and 10. But if you have a small plane, you can fly in and out of John Wayne anytime you want. And some knucklehead in the audience asked her a question about whether Harrison Ford is still allowed to fly there. And she said, as a matter of fact, he flies to Orange County a lot. Yeah. And they were told to let him land whenever, as long as he met all the other stuff. So that knucklehead asked her, could we get the schedule of when he comes and goes so that we don't fly out? But it was a really good presentation today. I thought it was really, really, really good. Sorry, Harrison. He played Moses or something?
Rancho Margarita.
Oh, Rancho Santa Margarita Water District gave the
Small district.
the district report. And then they had I don't remember the guy's name, Lara something, who does consulting work, and he's the guy that he got up there to talk about how he designed all the logos for different special districts and does consulting work. Blair?
Yeah.
And of course, he made the comment that the best logo that they ever did was for Mesa Water. So we all just nodded on that one.
No object.
Arlene, you want to give a CSDA report?
On the CSDA report, actually, I went to, we had a regional tour, And so CSDA had all the directors decided that we should be going to different north, south, west, that kind of thing. So we went down and had Orange County Water District, did the replenishment, a lot of walking, and then being I'm a director from South, I had to go to these things. And then we also had the cemetery, which was very interesting because I knew nothing about a cemetery, where it was. This was the district headquarters, and we walked a lot there too. And then we also did the mosquito and vector control district, and I didn't even realize they have 9 acres of that.
Big spot.
We had to walk that too, but it was very educational, very educational.
They mentioned that you had lunch in the middle of the cemetery.
Yeah, and then we had lunch in the middle of the cemetery. They set up a thing there.
Nice and quiet luncheon.
Yes, very nice, very special. And I didn't even realize that the executive director, Tim, is actually a resident in Costa Mesa.
We went to Estancia High
Yeah, I
School.
didn't realize that.
He was one of my Little League coaches years ago.
Really? Oh. So anyway, it was very worthwhile, and we had different legislators, or else Matt Harper came naturally, and aside from that, we had a lot of their representatives there, and but they learned a lot, and it was really good because they learned about special districts and what we stand for, and why we need to be all different, and what we all actually represent, which is a different area. So they went away really surprised. The bus trip, we had a bus trip that I think the sanitation district took care of for us. That was good too. And so anyway, that was a big thing because Bill Nelson and myself and Joe McKenzie were the 3 that are actually the southern directors for the 6 counties. So this was ours, and then next year will be San Diego, and they'll do 3. So it's something to look forward to. And then also, the other thing was that I got to sit in with Director Ferryman on the porta potty on our meeting that we had. And this was...
Didn't sound right.
She kind of twisted that, didn't she?
I'm just going to let that one go.
That's right.
I'm not going to give Bob any more material.
I did say it wrong. Anyway, the man is from Portland. He was down here, and Tom Hatch was there, and it was a good meeting. It was very interesting, and I from there, I guess I'm going to be part of the group, and it was very worthwhile as far as learning a lot about it from this man, and very enjoyable. And aside from that, what else? Oh, today did the homeless. I went to a meeting that the Chamber of Commerce had for the homeless people, and actually it was all these businesses in town, and there was a good turnout. I mean, people really cared about what was going on, and they wanted to know as far as what we're going to do about it, and the city was there to represent, and they have their own code enforcement, a guy who does nothing but, he said, I don't even work for the police, I just work for code
They
enforcement
just hired
of
him.
the city. Yeah.
The city did?
Yeah, and so, in fact, he lives in Kellybrook area. And so he was talking about everything that we should know about what's going on there. Very worthwhile. So,
Was Scott there with you today?
no, I was by myself on everything.
I was at OCOG today, and the whole thing was about the homeless and Anaheim and Santa Ana and what they're doing, and they brought in some, several speakers. It was
Yeah.
very enlightening. So
Did anybody talk
it's
about?
taken front row center. Huh?
Did anybody talk about toilets, restrooms for the homeless or not?
We didn't get into that specifically.
There was in LA, I heard on the news, some group is suing the city of LA to put portable restrooms in for the homeless. They're actually taking a legal action against the city of LA. Wow, well, good to be ahead of the curve. Okay, anything else?
That's it.
Thank you. Nothing from SDRMA. We have our board meeting next week, so I'll have a report for you in November. Other meetings?
Four of us went to the chamber breakfast, and I gave Scott the card of that main speaker about getting online with the other. There's like a number of organizations, like 32 or more, or maybe it's 300 that have already got online with this organization, talking about what you can do for the citizens of Costa Mesa. And I gave Scott the card to contact him. I thought it was a pretty good presentation. His video equipment didn't work, so he couldn't show us exactly what he was. It was all verbal. But I thought it'd be something that we can, because there's no cost for it, we can get on their website and be part of it.
I think Art and I and Arlene went to Waco, and they talked about an update on the water coming from the north, the tunnel project and other things, and basically from Met's perspective, and even in the last drought, they have so many different resources like Paris Lake and the Central Valley Water District and Desert Water Valley District and many areas up in the north where they put water in the ground and different transfers and things, so they were barely stressed. Even with almost no allocation during the drought, because they had planned correctly. They had done a lot of planning, and so now they're filling all those resources back up.
You saw where Trump is not approving the two, what are they?
Two tunnels.
Tunnels. He's against it completely, and they think it's going to kill it. Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting, when you go out to Palm Springs and you cross at Whitewater. I don't know if you've ever noticed.
Yes.
There's a creek that runs through there. We, of course, now that summer's over, you'd think that creek would be. It is flowing as fast as it was going, but I always wondered. It comes down out of the mountains, goes under the 10 freeway, and then it goes out towards Mount San Jacinto. And there's no lake, there's nothing for it.
It goes under.
It goes directly into. That's why Coachella Valley has such a big aquifer. Is that thing's pumping water.
And that's where they're storing part of that water.
Last week. Okay, other meetings? All right, no old business or new business, so we'll go to oral communications and director comments. Just one comment. Scott, can you do a press release to whoever you do your press releases to about the Citizens Advisory Academy? Let's get that out in the press as soon as possible. That goes to Luke and to the guy from the Register, right? Great. Okay.
Well, I've been appointed to the Citizens Oversight, the School District Citizens Oversight Committee, and my first meeting is in early November. Has a lot to do with, I was hoping it had a lot to do with construction projects, but it has much more to do with how to get the bond funds into the district through the two different propositions, the two different bond issues. The reading is unbelievable.
School district, that's good. Good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Anything else, Butler?
Scott, now, I know you've been dealing with the city, the water district, and the school district. Are we going to have that on our agenda for our approval for our end of it for discussion? Or the restrooms? I mean, because you had talked about that.
The plan is to, for your study session on November 14th, I invited Wilson from the Homeless Solution Network to speak to the board about the accomplishments that committee has made in the past year. Following that will be the discussion about the mobile restrooms idea. And so the hope is that the board will support that. And that will give the city some ammunition to go, at least Councilman Stevens, some ammunition to go to his colleagues and hopefully get support. Reach out to Mesa Water and the school district officials of what I haven't heard back from Mesa Water. The school district, they're discussing it.
Would it be appropriate to invite them to that meeting on the study session or not? I don't know. I don't know, just a thought. Because it might be just the city and us, probably.
You got my email that I will not be, that I'm going to miss the study session on the 14th. Medical procedure that day that I'm not looking forward to. You got to do what you got to do. Okay, any other comments? All right, seeing none, we will adjourn to our November 30th meeting because we're going the week after Thanksgiving, correct?
Is that right, November 30th?
I think that's November 30th.
But
Very good.
we have a study session of 14th.
Yeah.
April 14th.
Which I will miss, Jim.
And you're going to have to run it. So you'll be gone. Do we have other items on that study session besides that? This week or
You have these to sign. Okay, we're adjourned.